Picture the scene with me. It's a hot, sweltering day, and a woman is being dragged up the dusty street into the center of town. Adulteress, whore. People are shouting at her, jeering. She was someone who was caught in the very act. And who do they bring her to? They bring her to the teacher, the one that people were calling the Messiah. People were calling the Son of God. And they brought her right to him, and they demanded her death on the spot. John chapter 8 tells us about a woman whose name that we'll never know. She was a woman caught in the very act of adultery. Her sin would identify her for all time. And we're also told that a crowd came, calling for her head, because what she had done was unexcusable. It was considered one of the more public, disgusting sins. But Jesus had an interesting response. When these men brought this woman forward, he listened to their case. But instead of issuing his sentence right away, he looked around and he said, "Let he who is without sin among you cast the first stone." And then he bent down and he began writing in the dirt. Now the Bible doesn't tell us what he began writing, but I often wonder if what he was writing was a list of sins that the men in that crowd had committed. Because the Bible tells us that one by one, those men left the crowd. No one threw a stone. No one stood left to accuse her. And I find it interesting that the crowd came as a mob, but one by one they left. And I think that maybe they left one by one because sin tends to be a more private, personal struggle. And there were things that each person in that crowd had done that they were not proud of. Things that maybe nobody else knew about. And they didn't want to be outed the way that they had outed this woman. And I couldn't get past this story in John 8 when I read Crystal's blog post this week. And the issue of pornography is not one that all of us struggle with. I know for me that that is not my area of struggle. But we all struggle with something, and chances are we all do it privately. And so it's easier to cover up our sins. And maybe even for those of you who read the blog post and are watching this vlog that do struggle with pornography, it's also something that you can do privately. And I think the ability to sin privately makes it easier to sin because it's easier to get away with something again and again and again. And so I want to ask you today that if you were called forward in a crowd, and Jesus gave you the chance to condemn somebody else, if you could say that you were blameless before him, what is the one thing that would give you pause and make you turn and walk away? What is the secret sin that you're harboring? It's something that you're not proud of, but you're also not public with, so it's easier to get through each day.